No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait.
Oh my god. It's huge. That's right, a new massive Deepwoken update. I'll go through some of the new features and some of the cool things they're adding, and a little bit of the bug changes. We'll go through those fairly quickly. So this week, the patch is focused on adding increased diversity to weapons in the end game. We've adjusted the stats on many weapons to better fit their requirements and to diversify the range of viable weapons available. I am excited about this. They've also reached 100 million visits. That's a huge milestone. Congratulations, Deepwoken and devs. So let's get onto the content. A new feature has been added: alloyed weapons. Pluripotent alloy can now be found as an item. It can be applied to certain early to mid-game weapons to alloy them, upgrading their stats into end-game weapon. That is so cool. Often weapons with unique properties like the Shotel or the Grimorian Longspear can be alloyed, enabling you to take these atypical weapons into the endgame with you. The number of weapons that can be alloyed will be increased with subsequent updates. Using pluripotent alloy on weapons will preserve the enchants and qualities. So I'm not entirely sure how many weapons are going to be compatible with the alloy, but according to this, more and more will be added later. Pluripotent alloy is a guaranteed drop from your first boss kill on a character, provided you contribute enough to the kill. A new unique crit for Willing Knife. It has a plus 30% extra chance to get a knife's journey critical hit. There's also a new unique critical hit for the halberd. That's pretty cool. I hope they keep doing stuff like this. It makes weapons more interesting to use, and it doesn't always bind you to use the same end game weapon that you always do. So pretty cool. We got a few new talents: Chronostasis, Punishing Blow, and Mantra Performance. A new 1v1 arena, the Condemned Archives, made Cybex a bit more verbose with their feedback on your resonance progression. So we got some new arenas. That's awesome. I'll see if I can find a few pictures and throw them up here real quick. And then Cybex, it'll give you a little more information on how close you are to your belt. So there's been some enchantment and equipment changes. Enchanted equipment is now soulbound, like enchanted weaponry. As with weapons, this means that upon equipping it, only you will be able to use it. If your equipment's enchant is voided following this update, it means your equipment was likely duped. With enchanted equipment being soulbound, this should effectively stop the circulation of duped enchanted equipment. Enchanted weaponry and equipment are now 3 times easier to find. Let me read that again. Enchanted weaponry and equipment are now 3 times easier to find. 3 times easier. So that means we'll at least be seeing more enchanted items before we reach level 60, hopefully. And farming for those items won't take literal days when you're trying to get, say, an enchanted Carillion knife. You no longer drop enchanted items on death. This is a huge one. While being able to snag enchants from other players in PvP was pretty fun, it meant that players with enchanted gear in their inventory became huge targets for exploiters, with no easy way to restore the enchant stolen. This is a way to combat those exploiters who can see your inventory. I know they're working on their own anti-cheat, and someone have already implemented it. A lot of users who fly are now being banned. And with this, in the depths, you won't be hunted down from exploiters quite as much, hopefully. Face, torso, and ears equipment are now capped to 2-star quality like rings. This applies to existing pieces of equipment as well as newly rolled face, torso, ears equipment. Just meaning you can't get above 3 stars on that. A strange change. Getting into weapon balancing. A huge crypt blade nerf here. The crypt blade scaling has been nerfed from 5 to 3.5, and base damage has been nerfed from 26 to 23. Massive nerf. Max damage with 100 heavy and 100 shadow is now 54.1. It used to be 65. For a weapon with a great swing speed, for a heavy weapon that steals ether, dealing 65 damage a hit was insane, was crazy. So, I love this change. The Shattered Katana, Petra's Anchor, Crypt Blade, Pale Morning, and Curved Blade of Wind now have a power 30 requirement. We won't be seeing those level 15s with wind blades anymore. Iron Birch now requires 55 heavy. The Adrian axe now only requires 35 heavy, but it has an increased speed of 0.61 to 0.62. I don't understand the change on that needed, but reduced scaling from 8 to 7 and reduced damage from 26 to 24. Reduced weight as well. Kenorian axe now only requires 35 heavy. The increased damage is 23.5 to 24 and increased weight from 4 to 6. That's a pretty good change for that. I assume they're making these changes to better implement the end game weapon with the alloy. So with that in mind, these changes might be decent. Halberd now requires 25 heavy, increased range from 8 to 9. Wow. Knorfang now requires 40 light. Carillion knife now requires 75 light. Apprentice rapier increased speed 0.77 to 0.8. A good change in my opinion, as the rapier was a little slow based on a light weapon. Serpent's Edge now has 5% pin, but requires 75 medium. Gilded Knife scaling is reduced from 8.5 to 8. True Seraph Spear scaling increased from 4 to 6. Chip damage reduced from 50% to 40%. The Central Dirk damage increased is 14.5 to 15, and pin is 5% penetration added with 7 range and reduced scaling from 8 to 7. So that is it for a lot of the massive changes. Up next is the balancing, and I'll try to go through this fairly quickly, as there has been a lot of balancing and a lot of bug fixes. I'll try to focus on anything that really stands out, but let's see. So they buffed the Authority Commander coat, but now it requires power 30. They buffed First Ranger Dusters. They buffed the Ministry Cloaks. Originally, Ministry Cloaks didn't have any stats on them, so hopefully this is meaning that they fixed those pre-existing ones as well. Rising Shadowcasters can now attack while tracking, but cannot sprint. Damage buffed slightly. The Dark Rift Frames are now removed when using an offhand attack. Rifle Spear critical damage buffed. That's kind of big. Rifle Spear critical hits pretty often. Gale Force windup increased and damage reduced. That's an interesting change, seeing how they buffed it recently. Lava Serpent cooldown is now 2 seconds if procced by an M1 or critical. Base cooldown also increased to 0.5. Finally, a little bit balancing on Lava Serpent. We love to see it. Shadow Travel now stops you from ledge hanging. Shadow Chains, base duration and damage buffed. Buffed the drain on Hungry Flames and disabled it in Arena. Not entirely sure what. Upgrading Clutching Shadow damage is now much more effective. Level 5 Clutching Shadow damage has gone from 35 to 50. Blocking Clutching Shadow now reduces damage by 75%. Jolt Grab Windup reduced. Anti-heal works on No Life King now. Here is a huge change. Ring of Pestilence now applies anti-heal. So instead of doing that 20%, 25% anti-heal, it is now full anti-heal, where they will not gain anything from their lifesteal, wisp, fires, anything. Ring of Pestilence is now an absolute necessity on your builds. Deferred does 10% damage instead of 20% damage. Wild AoE damage is now 10% of the damage of your swing. Reduced range. Curse of Yunshul, more likely to proc, but does less damage to self and slightly less damage to others. If the level difference is greater than 20, the heal from Blood Scourge or Reaver Bell is cut in half. This is a pretty big change. Now you won't see people carrying around noobs just as health packs, because they won't get as much from it. I don't know if this applies to bandits per se, because you could normally take a mud skipper or a bandit and bell it and get full health from it. I would assume this applies in that case, but I guess only time will tell. Hell's Partisan now blockable and parryable. Awesome. Base duration for run it back is now 5 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Pretty cool. You can no longer roll Eruption Path, Lava Serpent, and Final Act in the same build. Iceland's hitbox slightly decreased. This is a good change, as the hitbox made 0 sense on it. Deferred no longer causes Spine Cutter to be useless. You now need 35 Fortitude to roll Exoskeleton. Keep that in mind. 35 fortitude. I believe it was 40 or 45 before. So, cool. Shadow Seekers and Shadow Meteors now share a cooldown. Now you won't have to dodge 100 Seekers and dodge Shadow Meteors while someone is also attacking you. You no longer roll Vanishing Follow-Up if you take Dazing Finisher. I hope this works the other way around as well. I hope that you cannot roll Dazing Finisher when you have Vanishing Follow-Up, because I've rolled Dazing Finisher 4 times after getting Vanishing Follow-Up, and it makes it useless. Wind Up Bell can now only wind up to half the charges out of combat. I assume this was meant to stop people from winding up all the way and surprising someone and completely reducing all their health. So this is kind of a strange change though, because you can just have a friend hit you before you attack someone, wind up all the way, and then go punch someone's lights out. Blade Dancer now requires 25 agility. Cauterize now impacts blood loss slightly less. Cauterize now requires 40 Flame Charm. Gold Tongue no longer procs while ice skating. Ice Skate now cancels out any ether regen you have. So you can't take an ether potion and then just skate forever like you used to be able to do. It's a lot of fun, but good balance. Reduce the base Ardor ether drain greatly. You can no longer use Cap Artist and run it back. You can do this to cancel the TP back. For those curious about the bug fixes, we'll go over them fairly quickly. Spine Cutter now works with all weapons. Fix Rising Shadow bugging you if stunned while tracking. Fix Rising Shadow sharing cooldown with Shadow Eruption. Fix not being able to attack while Lightning Forge Cage is active, and it no longer hits the user. The Resonance cooldown indicator will only be visible if you have Resonance. Fix Tells Partisan working on non-mantras. Fix Size Accuracy on Shadow Eruption Drain hitbox. Fix Tap Dancer not having iframes. Thank you. Fix Dawn Fist Ring and Akira's Ring being non-functional. Fix Jolt Grab breaking you if your opponent dies instantly. Fix Prediction working on damage sources that are meant to always hit, like fall damage and the arena circle. Fix Warding Radiance, proccing when an attack would be nullified. And Fireblade should now be in sync with the animation. A few optimizations such as visual effects for Hive and Firepalm. Fixed Blood Scourge locking you in place on use. Fixed Stormblade always being the Tornado Spark variant. Oh, and as of 2 minutes ago, it looks like they released the alloyable weapons. So let's go over those real quick. The Halberd, the Shotel, the Grimoirian Longspear, the Wailing Knife, and the Zweihander. More allied forms coming in future patches. I thought there would be a lot more knives in this, if I'm honest. So interesting that we're getting these weapons as the first alloyable weapons. On another note, we have a video of the Deepwoken manhunt coming out this next Monday. So if you want to see that, click the subscribe button, click like button if you want to see more updates, you know, those nonsense. But the manhunt should be up next Monday. Part 1 should be. So if you're interested to see how that went, it was very intense. It was very cool. We all had fun making it, though some of the rules got skewed a bit, but you'll just have to watch it. You'll just have to see how it turned out. So hit the subscribe button so you can see that. That's all the patch notes for today. And hopefully I'll be back next week with the next patch notes. See you then.